Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Brothers on the Board. On this podcast, we love working with kids, but one thing that we know from many years of experience is that they can really hurt your feelings sometimes. So, today we are talking about times in the classroom where kids said things or did things that most of the time inadvertently hurt our feelings or upset us in some way. So, Wes, you got that list in your head there, buddy? Times when many of these kids have came at you, have hurt your feelings,
Oh
made you feel
yeah,
bad.
absolutely. I've got a list. I got a very long list actually. Kids can unintentionally be very hurtful. Uh, most of these are just playful, but I have a ton of them where they just can say things without thinking. Right? They don't really have much of a filter, and
Oh
so
no, there's no filter with 12-year-olds. There's
no,
really
it just
not.
comes out. Without even
Yeah,
realizing.
and a lot of times, like it makes you really like these are things that for me is like, man, I, it's like really digs. It hits deep at your deepest, your most inner insecurities. It's like, oh man, is that true? I don't know. So
Oh yeah.
we're we're gonna go through a few of these and just kind of it's a bit of a lighthearted one, just to kind of have some fun, talk about it. We would love in the comments for people to share times in your career that people or students have said some things to you that were uh, maybe a little questionable or hurt your feelings in some way. These are all things. I want to make sure everybody understands this. These are things that aren't out of a place of or from a place of hatred. This is not like kids were mad at me or upset and just wanted to insult me or call me a name or whatever. This is nothing like that. This is things that's just sort of they a lot of times inadvertent. They didn't realize they were doing it, but that was the result. So, Wes, I'm gonna let you go first. Dude, I'm so excited to hear like what you have to say, and I ain't gonna lie, man. I think this is a perfect time. This is a perfect time for you to tell the belt story.
So why
Gotta hear.
you put me on the spot with that one? Well, they didn't really. I mean, they laughed. I guess they didn't really say anything to hurt my feelings.
No, but this it's just so funny that I think you got to share it. It's the best story ever.
All right. Well, before we get into my list, I guess I'll share that one real quick. Um, so my first day, well, it was my first week of teaching at my new school. First week of being a full-time teacher. I'd substituted for a year, but never full-time taught. Had my own classroom. It was the first week. I come into the class. The kids all come in, find their seats. I'm doing the whole first new teacher thing, all the things I've watched on YouTube where I'm greeting the kids at the door and everything. And all the kids get in, they get seated. And again, it's the first week of school. So, like, it's really quiet, right? And everyone's kind of silently sitting down. They still are kind of getting used to the norms and stuff. I come in and I like take a big deep breath, right? I'm like getting ready to talk to my class. Okay, everyone, this is what we're going to be doing for the day. I'm all excited. I'm way too, and then, pow, my belt breaks. Well,
What a first impression for seventh graders. Your belt
the,
exploding in the
so,
front of the room.
so these were eighth graders. I was teaching eighth grade my
Oh,
first
okay,
year.
okay.
So yeah.
It's a little bit, maybe a little better.
Oh no, they're ruthless. Eighth graders are way more ruthless than seventh graders are.
Oh, really?
Oh,
I
absolutely.
wouldn't think it.
Yeah. I mean, seventh graders, I feel like don't have a filter, but eighth graders, like, oh, they'll what the kids call cap on you a
Oh
lot
no,
more.
mine do the same thing. Yeah, but
So
here's the thing though: seventh graders have that little scared factor when they first come into middle school. You get that honeymoon phase, like they're afraid to laugh at you too hard
exactly.
initially, till they get to know you, right?
Yeah. So anyway, my belt pops. The kids all like crack up. It took me quite a bit of time to get them to quiet down to get started for the day. And then I went over to my coworkers and was just like on planning and was just like, my belt broke in front of students, like in front of the entire class. And like when you get to that point and you're like a little embarrassed, right? Like a little bit, you realize it doesn't get much worse than this.
Yeah, right? This is rock bottom.
This is it.
Can't get a whole lot worse.
Yeah,
I mean, like bending over and your pants ripping, that would be pretty bad.
Well, that's a whole other story for a whole other time. I did that in front of the staff.
Oh no,
that would happen in front of the staff, and we'll share that one later, but not right now.
Got it. All right. So let's get into that was your technically your first kind of event. We won't call it an insult, but it's pretty funny. But let's hear your first entry into this list, your first insult.
Okay,
or whatever you want to call it. Go ahead.
All right. So I feel like everyone has had this at some point in their teaching career, because you ask a kid, like if you ask a kid how old you are, that is just a recipe for disaster, first of all.
Yeah, they either really like grossly underestimate or they intentionally like roll over, right? Like intentionally like, oh, you're like, dude, you're 55. Like they just.
Yeah, well, my kids genuinely, so I wear a lot of cardigans. Like, love my cardigans, right? I got glasses now. So like
hashtag Taylor Swift.
hashtag Taylor Swift. Yep, hashtag Taylor Swift. I got glasses now. I wear all my cardigans. The kids think I'm very old. Right? I'm 28 years old. I'm still a young teacher. And the kids really believe that there are people there that are like 50s. And the kids think I'm older than them, like genuinely. They are shocked when I tell them I'm 28. And I'll even have kids argue with me. They'll be like, no, you're not. You're lying. You're lying about your age.
It's like, nah, dude. No, there's no way.
There's no way.
You have to be close to retirement for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, what are you talking about? My hair's starting to turn gray. You can't really tell it right now, but it's getting there. It's gonna.
Oh, dude. With my beard, when it went gray, and it's I'm 35, getting ready to turn 36, but like when my beard went gray, like kids' estimates at the beginning of the year went back by like 12 years. Like they went from, oh, you're 30 to, you're probably somewhere in your 40s. Like it just changed everything.
Absolutely. And so that happened. And another one with students calling me old, like still in that ballpark. The other day, actually, this was like very recent, like last week. I had a student who was like answering a question, but he was kind of stumbling over what he was trying to say. And some of my other students in the group were trying to help him out, because usually I'll like,
okay,
if a student's stumbling over a question, or like if they've taken a moment, I'll be like, well, you can ask someone for help. Well, we weren't to that point yet. He hadn't stumbled long enough, right? There was still some processing happening, and they were trying to help him. They're trying to like whisper to him and stuff. And I was like, let him cook. Give him a minute. Let him cook. And my class was like, who taught you that? I was like, I'm not old enough to not use the phrase "let him cook." That is not.
Oh yeah, no, right. It's something. Like if you said lit a couple of years ago, like, oh man, that's lit. Before that it was, oh, that's fire. Like we can just keep going back, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, when you say something that's like their lingo, right? They don't expect it. But no, dude, it gets worse. Like after you get past 30, dude, it gets worse, man. Like it goes downhill from there. But yeah, age, I've not had a ton about my age, I would say. Most of them tend to guess younger most of the time, until recently the beard started going gray, and then now I get some that's a little older, but not too bad. All right. So for my first one, dude, this happened this year. It was like the first month of school. So just to put this into context, at the beginning of this year, I went on a pretty successful diet, lost probably close to 20 pounds, was feeling pretty good about myself. And then I went on a cruise. And cruise ships, as it turns out, is the absolute death of diets. If you go on a cruise, you are asking for your diet to end essentially. So that's exactly what happened. I mean, I hadn't drank pop in like 3 months, but it's included in the price. You can't let it go,
Oh,
right?
you're like, I'm gonna get mine.
Right, dude, I'm getting my money's worth. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I'm eating good on this cruise. So I ate everything, dude. I was eating like 7 ice cream cones a day, just going hard. So I put on from that cruise to the end of summer, I put on like 30 pounds. So now I'm like plus 10 on where I was when I started. So I put on, some weight, go back to school, and the pants situation wasn't doing so hot. But for me, I'm a little cheap, right? And I'm like, well, I'll just keep my tight pants until I get back into them. I'll work out, I'll diet again. I don't want to buy a bunch of bigger pants and then lose weight, and then suddenly I've got a bunch of pants that I can't wear anymore because I bought too big pants. So I put on this pair of pants, and they were questionably tight. Like you're like kind of talking like if dress pants were skinny jeans, kind of thing.
You couldn't
And I'm
stick
looking
a
at
penny but between them and
no, it was rough. Like, when you get in the car and it hurts.
oh yeah.
When you sit down in the car and it's like around your gut and it hurts.
Oh, I do
I'm
that
like,
with belts all the time, man. All the
dude,
time. I'm like, oh, I gotta get this belt off.
well, no, actually, I'm getting ready to tell you about the belt. So I get I put these pants on. They're super tight. I'm looking in the mirror and I'm like, yeah, these look weird, man. I don't know. I don't know if I can pull this off. Like I put on that much weight. Well, I couldn't really button them. So what I did was I got a belt and put the belt on and just zipped them. Right, like that's what I did. So I have my shirt over. You couldn't tell, but they were a little tight. So I get to work and it's in my head. As I'm walking in the room, I'm like, man, no one says anything to me. I'm like, oh well, maybe it's just me. They're not that bad. My wife hadn't said anything about them. She didn't seem to think nothing of it. So I get there and it's first bell, just teaching, doing my thing. This girl raises her hand, and I walk over to her and I'm like, yeah, what do you need? And she goes, are your pants tight? And I'm like, yeah, a little bit. And I just kind of walk away and I'm like, and then, before I walk away, she goes, yeah, they look like it. And then she just goes back to working. And I'm like, what do I say to this? So I'm like, this girl lives in my head rent free for the rest of the day, dude. If I had been close enough to work to change, I would have. I was like going to colleagues, like, do I look ridiculous? Like, how bad are these pants? And they're all like, oh, they're fine. But dude, like, it was like the most nonchalant thing ever. Like, just, it was perfect timing. Like, it was almost like she was paid off to do it. Like,
oh my goodness.
I couldn't believe it. So that was the first one that came to mind, because it was like a full day. It was like a full day of me being self-conscious about these stupid pants. So that is my first, definitely one that will stick with me for a while. I've got one here in a few minutes that's old, and we'll talk about that one. But anyways, yeah, that one was a good one.
So a few things I want to add to that one before we move to my number 2 is, first of all, Taylor, my wife, will let me walk out of this house looking ridiculous.
Mine won't. She's pretty particular. I won't say particular, but she will call me on it if I wear something stupid. I don't know how you call it. She will. Will Taylor just let you walk out and whatever?
There'll be times when I'll get home and I'll be like, why didn't you tell me that I have an ink stain like on my leg? Like, yeah,
she's like, that's your problem.
Yeah, she's like, you managed. So
no big deal.
And then also, that my friend, you haven't been in the club long enough, in the big guy club.
Man, I don't know if I'm gonna. I've lost 10 pounds almost now again, so I'm like trying to keep from getting in the club.
You're an honorary member at this point.
Staying in the club. You're right. I am
honorary member. You so you haven't experienced the ripped pants like the story I said earlier. I always have an extra pair of pants in my supply closet. The kids will comment on it sometimes. And I go in there to get like materials, because if you open up like the actual, like, so like my supply closet, there's like a door, you get in there, science teacher. So I have like this massive closet, and then inside of it, there's another little like dresser closet, right? If you open up that dresser closet, you have dress pants, dress shirt, everything, a full outfit on hangers hung up in there, ready to go at a moment's notice.
So are these the in case I rip my pants or in case I poop my pants?
In case I rip my pants.
I mean, you never know.
Oh, well, I mean,
you keep those emergency pants around.
If that happens, everyone knows. I've told everyone this. If that happens, I go home.
Policy.
Yeah,
I'm done. I'm done for the day.
Yeah, if number 2 happens on that one, we're out. Ripping my pants, I can recover from. I ain't recovering from the other one.
No, it's over. People don't forget.
No. So anyway, those are the 2 things I wanted to add to that one. We will move on to my number 2, though, which is surprisingly similar to your number 2, which is kids accidentally calling me fat.
Accidentally.
Now, so they don't call me fat straight up, right? Obviously, they don't like Mr. Howard's fat, right?
Sure.
But I've had to prove to a few students a time or two I can beat them in a foot race still. Right? They do not believe it that I can outrun them. So I've had to prove that a few times. And then also, here recently, they'll ask me something very similar to you, where they'll be like, your shirt looks a little tight.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So
like, what? Why tell me this? I don't need to know this.
Yeah. Why are you telling me that? Like, it doesn't feel that tight, you know?
Yeah.
But I've had a few of them, and then I've had one who the other day I was walking around the room, and they raise their hand, and I come over, and they're like, "We can see your belly."
Oh, no, that one sucked.
No way,
dude. I worry about that one. I'm pulling at my shirt all the time, dude.
So I could, luckily my shirt was kind of like, I could pull it down, but yeah, they're like, "We can see your belly." I was like, "Ooh, good save. Thank you for that one."
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one, I'm always pulling at my shirt, trying to make sure, like, especially if it's a shirt that I wear, like, you can tell the ones you wear, like, as I've got a gut on me, my shirts they drape over the front of my gut like a skirt. It's really annoying. Like, if the wind blows, I can feel a little draft just roll.
That's why you know, again. I think we could rename the title of this podcast just "Tips for Fat Guys," right? So, and I just teach you how to be a fat guy, right? So, you always tuck, dude. You never let the dress shirt drape. That's skinny guy stuff. You gotta tuck that in.
Dude, I was skinny my entire life until the last few years. I'm gonna have to figure it out. We'll have to title that. We're gonna have to like that's gonna have to be copyrighted or something. We'll get on that. All right, my number 2 for insult story. This one happened 12 years ago during my first year of teaching. And I still remember. I remember everything about it. I remember where the kids who said it. I remember where they were sitting. I remember where I was at. I remember, actually, no, it's not true. It was my second year teaching. It was where, it was back home. So I was in the room, and I would say probably when I turned, I don't know, my early 20s, my hairline started going back just a little bit. It just right here around the edges, getting that male pattern baldness or baldness, whatever it's called. Started getting that. And it was something that was on my mind. I was thinking about it a little bit. My hairline's starting to get a little worse and all that. Well, I was at school one day, and this kid goes, "Mr. Howard, you don't have a hairline. To which another kid responds and says, he has a hairline, you idiot. Just not a good one. And I'm like, oh, really, dude? Come on, man. So, that's the one that, at the time, and my hairline's not changed a ton since then. So I was thinking, okay, well, by the time I'm 35, which is what I am now, like, it's probably donezo. Like, probably gonna have no hair left. But yeah, that one, man, that one stuck with me because I think it was one of those things where it just kind of had started happening. No one had ever said anything to me about it. It's just something I was sort of noticing in private. And then someone finally says something. It's like, oh no, like the universe knows that I'm going bald. So yeah, that one was a specific one that I remember very vividly. And that's something that's based on our dad. We will probably both have to worry about.
Yeah, kind of starting a little bit, but like I don't know. I feel like I still got our mother's hair, so I
You
think
do.
I think I may
You
luck
do
out on
more
that
so.
one.
You do more so for sure.
I've got dad's eyes. He wears glasses.
Well, I don't know, man. I think I might too at this point because I need to get my eyes checked. But anyways, off topic. Yeah, that's for me. That one stuck out, man. I remember that one vividly. All right, your insult number 3. Tell us a good story, man.
Yeah.
What's our third one?
So this story actually happened 6 years ago. So I've been 7 now. Wow, 7 years ago. So it was before I was full-time teaching. It was when I was substituting. So for those that do not know, we are originally from Eastern Kentucky. And you can probably, yeah.
And you can of Mountain Dew
probably tell from the accents. Now, my accent is still bad, but it is nowhere near what it was when I moved up here to
Northern Kentucky. Someone pointed it out to me today, actually. They said he has a podcast. This was another teacher. She goes, yeah, he has a podcast, and his brother's accent is way worse than his is. They mentioned that. So apparently I have lost some of mine.
I believe that it's partially the fact that you are an English teacher. Like me and one of my coworkers were talking about it. And I think that because you have to focus on like sentence structure, and I mean, that's what you're teaching, right? And you have to communicate that very clearly, I feel like.
Honestly, it's just saying the word right.
Right.
That's the big one. Yeah.
Yeah.
The kids are like, do what? And I'm like, write a paragraph. And then I'm like, write a paragraph.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Well, I can turn it on and off if I would like to, but I don't typically talk like this. Right. So I'm, on a podcast, I'm going to be comfortable and I'm going to, use my accent. So, anyway, when I moved up here, it was much worse, believe it or not, much worse. And it's so bad actually that sometimes my kids, when I go back home to visit mom and dad over the weekend, I'll come back up here and the kids will call me out. They'll be like, were you visiting your parents this weekend? I'll be like, yeah, because like I pick back up on those things. So, anyway, I was substitute teaching and I had a student, so I was teaching a lesson. So it was a science classroom. I was teaching a lesson about bears, the animals, right? We were talking about ecosystems and habitat, and I talked about bears. And this was like a unit. So I long-term subbed there, right? So it was,
I remember this.
Yeah, it was several months, like 4 or 5 months. So I was teaching this lesson about bears. It was a whole unit. And the bear was like that, what we call in science, the anchoring phenomena, where you keep referring back to it, right?
Okay.
So
if you say so.
Yeah. So anyway, we get to the end of the unit. It's been about 3.5 weeks. And I give the final assessment, the summative assessment over the unit. And I have a student raise their hand. And I walk over to them. And they're like, what's a bear?
It took me a second to get it. Okay, yeah, what's a bear? What's a
Like bands.
burr? What's a burr?
What's a burr? I was like,
Dude, that's one. I don't think about that one a ton, but yeah, I would say if I was just talking, especially around home, right? I would say bear. But they would say bear.
a bear.
Bear.
Yeah,
A
the
bear.
animal, a bear.
You know, a bear. A
A
bear.
bear. Yeah. So, but I was like, I was insulted on multiple levels. I was like, first of all, you waited until the end of this unit to ask me
Yeah.
what I'm even talking about this whole time, right? But also, like, now I'm like, oh, I can't. So, the accent is definitely one. And so, kids will still, like, to this day, sometimes make fun of my accent, which, it is.
I get it too.
Yeah, it is what it is. They'll
it.
ask me to pronounce things, right? They find it hilarious sometimes. The big one is, so I count down. If you've listened to any of the podcasts, you know I count down when I want the kids' attention. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, they'll be like 5, 4, 3, 2. I'm like, I don't sound like that now.
Yeah, I have a kid, dude, who is obsessed with my accent this year. Like he's like a parrot in the room. I'll be like, okay, I want you guys to write, and while I'm talking, you can hear him go, right? It's like he's practicing. Like he's trying to talk like me. And he'll come up and try to say things to me. And one day he just goes, why can't you talk right? I'm like, I can talk. So at this point I've got to where I just go, listen, it's not my fault that you guys don't know how to talk. Like it's not my fault that I'm the only one here who knows how to talk. So that's where I'm at with it. But yeah, the accents, yeah, I get that one a lot.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's always nice though because I will have some, because I teach in Northern Kentucky now. I will have some students who come from Eastern Kentucky. And 2 years ago, we had a student who moved here from Eastern Kentucky, and she was not on my team, but she came to one of my core connection classes where the students get to kind of choose where they come. And she comes in and I'm like giving them the spiel, like, hey, I'm Mr. Howard. This is what we're going to be doing in here, blah, blah, blah. And her eyes like lit up. And she's like, oh, you sound like I do. I was like, yes.
You sound like I do.
I was like, yes, I do.
You are my people. Yeah, I get it. I get it a lot. And you know, I've speaking, you know, of accents, we've noticed that we've had a handful of viewers or listeners from California. I hope you guys have been having a tremendously wonderful time listening to these banjos the last little bit. So thank you for tuning in. That is awesome. We do appreciate it. So, all right, it's my last one, right? This
Yes.
is it.
Mhm.
All right, this is it. I'm sorry. I hope wherever you're driving to right now, because let's be honest, you're driving. I hope you're almost to your destination because it's almost over, which that sucks for you, but it is what it is. So I was down between two. I had two I could have chose from. Both of them call me fat. It's just in different ways. The one I'm going to go with, I think. Yes, the one I'm going to go with is recently we were on our way to lunch. We're walking down the hallway, and a high schooler that I had years ago, he's one of those kids where you're like, I know your face. I'm not entirely sure what your name was, but I know you. He comes walking up to me. I'm walking with a couple of other teachers, so I'm not alone, right? This is witnessed. So he comes up beside me, leans down, and rubs my stomach, which is already really weird. Like, he just kind of like goes, ugh. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, bruh, Mr. Howard, whatever you're doing, you need to stop. Yeah, dude.
No, he
Yeah.
did not.
Yes, yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. And I said, dude, you know what? I just was like, you are right. You are 100% right, man. I've ate a lot of McDonald's lately. I gotta quit. But and then when I go down to the and this is not the other one, but when I go down to the lunchroom, there's this same kid every day who will yell at me when I come out of the cafeteria and go, "How about that diet, Mr. Howard?" And I'll just hold up my salad and be like, "Still strong," and just keep walking, go upstairs. You're like, I'm taking the stairs up. I'm not taking the elevator. I'm strong.
Wait a minute. Does your school have an elevator?
Yes, sir.
Y'all fancy.
Yeah, dude, we got an elevator, but
My school doesn't even have stories, so
wait, is it one story?
yeah.
Then why you need an elevator for? Are you going to the roof?
You go up to the pool that we tell all the kids is up there.
Dude, I do the same thing. I tell kids that there's a pool on the roof. Yeah, that's a, and they believe it. That's the best part.
100% they believe it.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah. Sometimes I just, after school, I just go take a dip in the pool. Yeah, pool on the roof. Like, you don't. It's like you got to take the Willy Wonka elevator to get there. The one that busts out of the ceiling and flies away. All right. Well, I think that will about do it for episode 6 and our lovely kids that we love so much, but they can be little wrecking balls at times and hurt your feelings. So I hope you guys have a wonderful day. If you're a new teacher or if you're a teacher that had said something said to you recently that wasn't exactly kosher, just keep in mind that they don't mean it personally. It is what it is. You just roll with it and keep on going. So we appreciate you guys for listening. If you could jump on Facebook, we do have a Facebook page. Please consider following us. Also, we would love to get a conversation going, trying to get more people involved in talking about these topics, not just for us, but also just so we can learn. We want to learn from other people as well. We're in no ways are we perfect or maybe even great at what we do. We don't know, but we do like to continue learning and getting better. We're always trying to improve. So we hope you guys have a wonderful day, and we will see you next Tuesday on Brothers on the Board. Have a great evening.